Hey everyone, welcome to Digging In. This morning we're going to spend some time just talking about Crossing the Line, the new book that Larry Little, our CEO of Eagle Center for Leadership, has just put out. So we're looking forward to spending some time just asking some questions. I've got some questions that I want to ask you and need to know about this new book. So Crossing the Line is the latest book that is out. It talks about being able to cross that line in the relationship from task to understanding people. So, great concept. We have recently walked through this with our team, had such a great time processing it together. We're continuing to process it together. So let's talk this morning. Can we do that?
No, I'd love to. It'd be an honor to talk with you.
So Larry, it's been 23 years. Talk
wow.
about crossing the line. You've been just focused on leadership and people with Eagle Consulting over the last 23 years. So, talk to us about, what has been the focus of this book? Talk to us about why this book, why Crossing the Line. Before we even get into it, why Crossing the Line?
First of all, 23 years. I mean, wow. That's a long time, isn't it?
That's a long time.
I started as a child, as a mere child, right?
Baby.
I mean,
Toddler.
Right. It has been, but it has been a journey, and as I've learned, and I'm still learning, and my mission is to help as many people as I can, and to make a difference in as many people in their lives as I can before I leave this world. So it's been a fun journey, 23 years. But it really all centers around and stops and starts with understanding ourselves and understanding others' relationships. You really can't have, Melissa, I don't think you can have healthy relationships unless you understand yourself first. And so we did some work around all of that with the Make a Difference project and book and that kind of thing. And it's been a highlight of my life to see relationships restored and businesses and teams thrive and personal relationships grow and families better understand each other. That's been so fun to continue to see our team does such an awesome job at taking that and using that tool to speak into the lives of others. So I knew that there was more, right? And I don't know. I was just searching. I'm always, I'm a lifelong learner. I have so much to learn, and I remember thinking, there's something else here that can help people, because part of our Make a Difference work includes a graph or two continuums, a horizontal and a vertical continuum, and I kept looking at that, and people can connect with that because it's visual. You can see the different personalities on there and all that. But yet, I was thinking, what else can we do? And then to help simplify, to help continue to give people something tangible. My real focus on this was I wanted to give something that people could see and go, okay, here's a tool so that's where it started out, is how could I develop a tool to help take this personality, getting to where others are, speaking the language of others. It's one thing to learn to validate, and that's great, but on a daily basis, what do I need to do to get there? How do I get there? How do I get to where? How do I do that? So, I thought, well, we've been teaching concepts, and let's do something to kind of build onto that. Let's do something, in fact, that would help people to have a tangible tool that would help them. So that's where my mind started spinning, and I started off with the line, and I know so the Crossing the Line, just. At face value, you're like, crossing the line, is that a bad thing? I mean, you don't cross.
Yeah.
And that's why I did that. I thought, well, let's do a title that is a little bit, just what is that? Questionable. A hook, maybe, for lack of a better word to say. What does it mean? Yeah, crossing the line. Because we've always been taught, don't cross the line, don't cross the line. But the exact opposite is true with what this book is about and what I'm, kind of what I'm thinking. So that's where it started.
So this book is for who?
Well, this book is for, it's a great question. It's for everyone. It's for personal use. It's for marriages. It's for parents and children. It's for people who have people they love and they want to connect with them. How do I connect with my spouse who is very different than I am? How do I connect with children who are different? How do I have a tangible resource to help me personally? Then is to help in teams and in businesses, and how do I lead teams who the people on there may have similarities to me, they may not. How do I help our team to understand how to better communicate, better talk, better trust each other? Trust is a huge issue in today's world, and there's such a lack of trust in relationships, personally and professionally. You know, we don't have to look far to see the lack of trust. So how do you build that trust? And so this book is aimed at personal relationships, how to build trust there, how to build trust professionally. And I'll just give you a little bit of it, you know, I don't want to, read the whole book, but to you right now. But the cool thing about it is trust, interestingly, begins with the ability to trust ourselves. And do we have do I trust myself to cross the line? Do I trust myself to speak into the life of someone else? And how in the world could I ask you to trust me if I don't trust myself? Now, that doesn't mean I'm perfect. It doesn't mean that I do everything right. It doesn't mean I make all the right decisions. But do I trust myself to take that step to authentically connect with you, to transparently connect? So that's what the book, there's a chapter in there around that, and even a little tool in there about that, and how do you assess, how well do I trust myself?
So this book is for anyone that has the desire to influence others, anyone that really wants to impact other people's lives, whether you're a mom, you're a dad, husband, wife, parents of adult children, young children, work, and the work environment, professional environment. So it's really about shaping and giving yourself a tool to be able to reach that person in a manner that is who they are and what they're about.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. I mean, I wanted to make it, and I spent time to be intentional about making sure I targeted personal relationships and professional relationships. So I wanted, I felt like we needed to do both, and we were able to do that.
Well, we all need tools.
Yeah,
we all struggle with our relationships and need to understand each other better and be able to speak each other's language. So I'm excited about us diving into some of the concepts today. Of course, there are many concepts in this book, and over the next several months, we'll walk through the different concepts and process through that, because we don't want too much today, because we want to really kind of digest crossing the line, because you have an equation. You have put together this tool and this resource of kind of giving us a roadmap and giving us an equation for those of us that need that, and that's important to help us get a visual and understand. You've given us an equation. So talk to us about what is the equation. What is this?
Yeah.
What is this concept?
I will. And you mentioned the tools that are in the book, and a weakness I have, and as you know, we walked together for many years now, is I tend to when I write books, I tend to pack them. I chock them full of stuff that's in my head.
You've got so much wisdom.
It's just like my mind I think it's ADD. It just goes crazy. So I put I know I probably put too many in this book. There's a lot of tools in this book.
A lot of good stuff.
So we'll unpack it. A little at a time. In fact, we're gonna take the whole year to kind of unpack some of this with our team. And so that's what I would just say as you think about this book on the front end is there's a lot of tools in there for you to look at. Don't let it overwhelm you. Take it one at a time.
And it's an easy read.
It's an easy read.
It's easy as far as it's digestible in the length. And so it really gives you, each chapter is a pondering pause to look at and really digest what's in the chapter. So I love how you've put it together and how it's structured, and so I'm looking forward to us learning together.
Pondering pause.
You got to pause sometimes.
I love that.
You got to just
pondering pause between the chapters.
I mean, if you want the people that read this book to really allow it to be a reflection point, to be self-aware. If you're saying we're going to trust ourselves first, then we can't run through this book. We got to be able to really take in the concepts and the pieces that you're challenging us to do. So let's talk about
Right.
Right off the bat,
Right. The
the
equation.
first piece, the first concept in the book is this equation.
Yeah.
So what is the equation?
So the equation is this: the crossing the line really stands for and represents the line, and the Make a Difference tool, the diagram we call it the DNA diagram, but it really represents people live on the top, and in our world those are monkeys and turtles, and then below the line are lions and camels. So I think in order to be successful in a relationship, on a team, you have to have both things here. You have to have the people side, but you also have to have the execution side. You have to have both. So it's the people side on the top, the tasking on the bottom. And a big picture of that is, Melissa, to be successful in life, I think you have to understand how to navigate or cross that line. So it doesn't matter what personality you have. That doesn't matter. You have to start with that. Understand who you are. Self-awareness is really important. Know who you are. Once you know that, let's say I live on top of the line. Well, great. That's who I am. That's where I'm most comfortable. I've got to learn to navigate or cross the line to lead others below the line. And then I got to come back up and lead them on top of the line and lead those I care about below. So I got to get to where they are, and it's a constant dance of going above the line and below the line, above the line and below the line, and it takes work. It does. So in order to do that, the question is, how do I do it? How do I do it? Well, so if you're above the line, this is how you think about how do I get below the line. And if you want to get below the line, you're used to and above the line. If you're a people-oriented person, you love words, you love inspiration, you love, and that may be your strong suit, that you can build connection with people. You love to talk, or you love to listen, you love to dream, you love to philosophize, and it's beautiful. That's awesome. But that's not very effective for people who live in a task-oriented world, who are incentivized. So in order to get below the line, you have to start with goals. And so the equation for below the line, if you're up here, this is what you need to know to be successful below the line. Then we'll go to above the line in just a minute. So we start below the line, and we start with goals. You got to understand that people who are task-driven need tangible goals. They need goals that they can see, that they can go achieve, that they can go after. Yes.
They need to know what the plan is.
Yes, yeah. They need structure. They need structure to know where we're headed in a home. Where are we headed? What do we want to do in the next 3?
The week hold?
Yes.
What is the month hold?
Beautiful. That's exactly it. What are we doing the next week, the month? What is the next
the
3 years?
For the week.
How are we going to structure our lives to have some order to the chaos of normal everyday living, right? And so if you can get that, and then in the professional world, it's simply setting goals for your team. That's the first part of the equation, below the line. The second part is goals plus data, because you got to know that you're setting the right kind of goals. So you got to measure yourself. How are we doing? How are things going? And in a family, that data might look like sitting down and discussing achievements that did we accomplish the goals that we set out to accomplish last month. Where are we financially? Where are we on our schedule?
Couple, and then even as a family.
That's right.
Being able to talk through that.
Exactly. Bring that measurement, bring that data. On the business world, it's really easy. It's about being successful in a business model and an operational model, and that is making sure you're measuring the right things, making sure that you have regular structural meetings where you look at the data and you make sure that we're measuring what we need to measure. So you have goals plus data. Those both are important, and they're both very tangible. See how literal that is. Because the below the line people need that literal, tangible equation, those tangible things. It makes them feel like they're accomplishing. You're speaking their language. It's what brings them security, right? So you have goals plus data, and the last thing is accountability. Goals plus data plus accountability. What does that mean? That means just making sure that we go back and assess, did we do what we said we're going to do? Are we on track, or did we not? Did we follow through on this one, or did we drop? I had this garden I was wanting to do. We talked about it, and we talked about it in the first of the month. You and I sat down in our home, and we talked about, I want this garden. I want it to be built up and whatever. And here we are now. We started that, and we had that conversation the first of the month. Now we're at the end of the month. Have we made any progress? And it's important. Otherwise, the below the line person is going to be very frustrated, because they set the goal, they had the data, they knew what kind of garden, they knew what they wanted to put in it, they knew the cost, they knew it. Nothing happened. Can you imagine? Nothing happened. So no execution. So goals plus data plus accountability. In the business world, we all know what accountability is. It's regular meetings, checkups, how are we doing, measuring, look at it, did we do it, did we hit it, did we not? So goals plus data plus accountability equals measured execution. And the reason I put measured execution there, and that's our formula for below the line, measured execution, is that if it's just execution, you're just spinning out of control. It's got to be, is it measured? In other words, did we meet the mark we set to do? Is it where we meant to go? Is it let's measure it. It's not just executing. You can execute yourself into oblivion, right? That's not helpful. So above the line, that's really uncomfortable for them to have the goals plus data plus accountability equals. But when you hit that measured execution, that's the goal, to hit it. When you hit that, guess what? You're speaking the language of someone that's different than you.
And, you know, Larry, you said something that I think is important too, and you said, are we measuring the right thing? So making sure that there's alignment, that if you're a husband and wife and a family, kids, that everybody's on the same page about what we're going to measure and what we're going to create accountability around, and how are we going to allow everybody to carry some weight of accountability, help each other, and hold each other accountable. And then in the work environment, are we measuring the right thing? I think so many times we can get off measuring the wrong thing and get down the wrong path.
So true.
And so clarity even around measuring the right thing, so that you get your measured execution, the right direction, the right level of following up with each other, the right goals. All those things sound pretty easy, but I think it's a pretty taxing thing to make sure you're doing that.
Especially to do it consistently. Yeah. It's one thing to do it one time, okay, great, but to put this into our system, our family system, and to do that, or to put this into our company and do it, you've done an excellent job of building for us on a below the line accountability with goals and having our team bring data and holding them accountable through meetings. But your secret, I think, to your success, I think you would agree with me, and how you lead our team here, is that you're consistent. They know here are regular set meetings. We're gonna talk about these things. We're gonna expect these things, which we'll talk about in just a minute.
We try. Well, in the piece of having goals, having accountability, that's not a new thing. Everybody knows this. They hear this. They're it's part of work. But that in and of itself is not the secret.
That's right.
In my opinion, to your equation. It's the other piece. So tell us about the other piece.
Yeah. So that's right. That's nothing new there, but it's important. I will say this. It's important that the choices, if you're an above the line person, it's important to know that you will be uncomfortable. Let me just say that as before. This will not be, you've heard about it. But you try to, generally, these people shy away from those things. So it's about being uncomfortable below the line. Now, if you're below the line, you'd say, let's look above the line. How do we, maybe I find my validation from tasking it, and I wonder why I'm burnt out all the time. I wonder why I just, I task myself into oblivion. Well, it's because we don't understand how to maybe speak the languages of those that we love, the language of those we love above the line. So how do we do that? How do you speak the language of someone above the line? What is it that we need to do to be successful above the line? Well, it starts with, in our equation, it starts with E, and that's expectations. Boy, that's a big one too, Melissa.
We might should just pause.
Yeah, right. we need one of those pondering pauses right here. Because, oh my gosh, it's so difficult. And one of the problems, if you're below the line, you don't enjoy being verbal. You don't enjoy talking about expectations. You don't enjoy that conversation. But if we don't learn to communicate expectations well, if we don't learn to set, here's what I expect. And in a relationship, in a personal relationship with a husband and wife, parent, child, friend, significant other, it looks like this. This is what I need. This is what I need from you.
And that's hard. I mean, you said we have to trust ourselves. We have to be aware first. Well, first, you've got to be aware of what you need or what you expect. I think so many times we have expectations, but they're right here.
That's so good.
We have expectations. We know maybe what the expectation is, but we haven't clarified that. We haven't communicated that. It kind of circles in our mind, and then people don't meet our expectation, but we've never had a conversation to talk about, what is that?
No, that's
what does that need to look like?
100% right. We have them, but we don't communicate them. So if you're an above line person and you're verbal and you can, words are your thing, and that's something you've got to slow down and make sure you're leading well. But if you're a below the line person, you've got to get uncomfortable with that and say, I'm going to become verbal. I'm going to set expectations for those that I lead, and I'm going to talk about those. most of the time, below the line leaders or below the line, they see that as a waste of time. Talking about what I need.
Why do you think? Why is that a waste of time?
They think it's a feeling. They think it's not tangible. They think it's mushy. What I need from you is,
it's not structured.
It's not structured.
Right?
It's really
definable.
Yeah, it's really
necessarily.
It's pliable. It's really gray.
It's a gray area.
It really is. And so therefore they shy away from that because they think it's used. But it's exactly, if you're below the line trying to get above the line, it's exactly what the person you're trying to connect with needs. And if you're above the line, you've got to realize that you need to help maybe those below the line to understand it, but you need to set that expectation, use those words, leverage that strength to talk about, this is what I need. It works on a team too. Once again, setting the expectation of, this is what we expect you to bring to this meeting. This is where when you come to this meeting, this is what the expectation is. It's powerful. The problem we have is, once we set the expectation, we think that's good enough. And I can tell you from personal experience with my children, I have 2 grown children now, just saying this is what I need you to do one time, it never has worked, ever.
Well, who of us gets it the first time?
Right,
Necessarily.
that's right.
So yeah, I like what you're saying, though. You're saying, set up the conversation, set up the ability to talk in what you need.
That's right.
See, that is even probably something that all of us need to work at, to be able to say, this is what I need.
That's right.
This is what I need in my relationship with my spouse. This is what I need with my friends. This is what I need at work. To communicate in those terms, I think is very different. And so to set up the ability to start having that conversation, to feel uncomfortable with that, to be awkward in that, but to work at talking and speaking in that way so that you can create clarity for others and even for yourself.
Yeah, that's so true. And the second piece to this equation above the line, so you have expectations, came from my failure. So I'm married to a below the line person, right? And for years, in my vernacular, she's a camel. So the expectations that she had were there, but there were so many of them, and they were because there were, her expectations were probably very unachievable. A lot of
characteristics of the camel.
Camel sets these unrealistic. Yeah. But so I would try to go meet expectations, but I was meeting the wrong ones. For instance, I was doing this, but what she really needed at this time was this.
You were spending energy
in the wrong direction because I was trying to meet the wrong expectations. It wasn't that they weren't expectations; they just were not the right ones for that moment. So what do you do about that? Well, this is where the second piece of the formula comes from. Because many times in teams, if we're not careful, we'll set all these expectations, but we'll be working on things that are not important for the moment. It doesn't take our business, it doesn't take our company, it doesn't take our division, our team in the direction we're working. They're important in certain times, but not right now. Right now, we need to do, the fire is here now. We don't need to come over here. We need to put this fire. We need to attack this hill. What do? Well, the answer to that is to set priorities. And so that's the second piece of the equation. So how do you do that? You talk about, okay, Melissa, let's talk about what your expectations are and what mine are. Then let's prioritize together what's most important.
That's so good, because we can create so many expectations.
Right.
Where, it stifles a team. It frustrates a relationship.
Right.
It creates chaos in and of itself, and then you can just kind of stop because you don't know where are you supposed to work, where do you spend energy.
Exactly.
And it can create frustration. So priorities.
Let's get a top 3. Let's go after a top 3. And so now we have our expectations. These are the top 3. This is the thing that's the most important to me. Here is the second and third. And once I communicate that to you, then the last thing of the equation, it makes sense, it's just common sense. Then the only question is, are you willing to do that? And that looks like commitment.
Desire.
Not that we'll do it perfectly, not that we'll get it right every time, but are you committed? Are we, so we've talked about our expectations. We've prioritized what we want for each other, top 3. Then can you make a commitment to me that you're going to go after those? And when we do that, if I commit to you, you commit to me, we're on a team, our team commits. These are the top here are the expectations we came up with. But wait, we prioritize them and we're all going to go after 1, 2, and 3. In a relationship, it's we've talked, we've set our priorities. You know what mine are. I know what yours are. Together, we've developed the top 3 things that we're going to go after, whatever, for each other. Then we commit. Yes, I'm going to do it. And that's the third piece of the equation. It's that commitment. Many times, companies especially, teams are good at maybe setting expectations and prioritizing. That might be part of a strategic plan. But the commitment piece is lacking. So they go out of the room and nothing happens, and they come back and nothing has been done because they knew the expectations. Yes, we agreed all these are important, but we had no real commitment to that. We had no real, we were just kind of giving lip service. We're not owning it. We're not, and that piece is so important. So when you have expectations plus priorities plus commitment, that's when we're aligned. I call it focused alignment. We're not just aligned. We could be aligned on some things, whatever it is. We may say we're aligned on, we go to the same church or have the same political view, but that's not important if we're talking about a business. Focused alignment means we're aligned on the things that matter. We're aligned on the things that matter. We're focused on this, right? In a relationship, it's really important to be aligned on the things that matter, not just aligned on we pull for the same college team or pro team. So with that being said, expectations need to be clear. This is all talk out and talk. It's being verbal. It's being, if you're below the line, you're very uncomfortable. Priority set, still uncomfortable because you're still talking. Commitment, that sounds mushy, but you're going to do it. Now we're aligned. So now what? So once I understand that, when I'm below the line, if I understand now I have alignment, I can go execute. I can execute on these things. I can set my goals and my data. I can hold, create the accountability, and I can execute. So when you have focused alignment and measured execution, you have a healthy relationship. It takes both. If you try to have measured execution without alignment, you're working in the wrong direction. If you have alignment only, focused alignment, but with no execution, you're a dreamer. You've talked about nice things, but nothing ever happens. So you have to know how to go. It takes both. It takes understanding how to lead well above the line and below the line. And there's a tangible tool there to help you do it.
Well, this is tremendous. Crossing the line, you almost make it sound easy, but it's not. No. It's not for any of us. No. And I appreciate your examples and vulnerability of this is hard work. Relationships are hard work. And so we're going to keep diving into crossing the line. We're going to hear some more of how do you keep doing that? What do you do when it's not working? How do you regroup? How do you keep going when, maybe alignment isn't there? What do you do? How do you stop? Where do you press pause? We need some more time with you to figure out, how do you keep working on these things so that the relationships can be healthy, not perfect, but healthy. Thank you. Thank you for this. We want to challenge you to find Crossing the Line. You can do that on Amazon. You can do that through eaglecenterforleadership.com. So we want to help you. We want to get this resource to you. We think it's a great opportunity for you to spend some time and focus on what is that line and how do you cross it. So we look forward to coming back and having some more time, some more conversation. Keep digging in. Keep working hard. Keep trying. We look forward to connecting again. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.